So here we have it, the brand new release from DJI, the Mavic 3 Classic. A less expensive drone with the same micro four thirds Hasselblad camera and all the performance we have in the other Mavic 3 models. It has the same micro four thirds CMOS sensor and a 20 megapixel camera, a 46 minutes of flight time and the O3 Plus transmission technology as the original Mavic 3, but without the telephoto lens. Now, the DJI Mavic 3 Classic is also compatible with 3 controllers, the DJI RC Pro, the DJI RC and the DJI RC N1 to provide top performance in a less expensive configuration, making it easier for anyone to upgrade to the best flying camera on the market if you already own either of the 3 controllers. So let's start with the camera here. The camera can record videos up to 5.1K at 50 FPS, 4K at 60 FPS and 1080p at 60 FPS as well in H.264 and H.265. Now for slow motion, you can record videos at 4K up to 120 FPS and 1080p up to 200 FPS with the added crop. The camera has a 24mm equivalent focal length and an aperture range of f2.8 to f11 and a natural dynamic range of 12.8 stops. So when the light hits the 20 megapixel sensor, it is processed in 12-bit RAW for photos and 10-bit D-Log for videos, which allows the camera to accurately reproduce hues, peak highlights, and detailed shadows. It's also designed to record true-to-life details that match what the human eye sees, and its HLG system for high dynamic range photography produces footage that doesn't need color correction in post-production. And in night mode, it lowers the visual noise to enable better photos even in low light situations such as sunrises and sunsets. Now, even though this drone doesn't have a full telecamera lens like the other Mavic 3s do, you will still be able to do some zooming with this because it has a 3x digital zoom. Now, battery life. Let's talk quickly about the battery life on this. It has a battery life of 46 minutes and the batteries consists of 5000 mAh and gives this drone the stated 46 minutes of flight time. Now the Mavic 3 Classic is also compatible with the same batteries coming from the other Mavic 3 drones. The battery has a weight of 335.5 grams and takes about 90 minutes to charge. Now when it comes to the battery lives, it really depends on how your flying style is. So if you fly all crazy in sports mode, that means you will have less time in the air and it's not going to be even close to the 46 minutes. But if you do slow and smooth flights and you're not flying very far away from where you're standing, you're going to get closer to that 46 minutes, which is stated. But the average is about 37 to 42 minutes, give or take, and like I said, it also depends on your flying style and also the conditions, whether you're flying a warm environment, cold environment, and if there's a lot of wind. So about 40 minutes of flight time is what you're gonna get with this drone. Now let's talk a little bit about the range here. So we have 46 minutes of flight time. That means we should be able to push some nice distance on this drone. So the O3 Plus video transmission system has a range of up to 15 kilometers in the US and 8 kilometers in Europe and can provide excellent 1080p 60 FPS transmission signal to your controller. Now despite the long range, the average user might not even need more than 1 or 2 kilometers when staying within visual line of sight. Now the Mavic 3 Classic also has a level 6 wind resistance of 12 meters per second. So wind should no longer be an issue if you're upgrading from something like the Mavic 2 Pro or the Air 2S. Now there is one thing that DJI brings to the table on this release which affects all the Mavic 3 drones. The Mavic 3 Classic is already ready for the latest drone regulations around the world. So in the US, the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, is expected to approve Mavic 3 Classic's means of compliance with remote ID, as it has done with the other drones in the Mavic 3 series. Here in Europe, the full Mavic 3 series has been issued with the world's first C1 certificate under the new European drone regulation. This allows users to fly in the new A1 Open category without taking a costly remote pilot licensing exam. So a big deal, a really big deal. A C1 classified drone makes a big difference in urban areas as you don't need to deal with safety zones as long as you follow the standard flight safety of operating a drone. So you don't fly above people and 150 meters away from buildings. This is really huge for anyone wanting to grab a Mavic 3, whether it's the standard, Cine or the new classic model. And it's something that people have been waiting for years. This means you can now fly in A1 airspace as soon as you get your hands on the drone. So to make this C1 compliant, DJI was forced to lower the noise level of the drone to the required 83 decibels, as well as limit active track to 50 meters between the drone and the subject. The 50-meter limit doesn't really come without issues. The problem is that the drone can easily lose track of its target and be left hovering in place. So tracking something like a car, motorcycle, or a boat might cause you some issues. So if the drone can't keep up with the consistent speed and reaches the 50-meter limit, it would automatically stop and hover in place, which is, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad, and it might cause some issues for a lot of people, especially if you want to have a fast track of you driving your car or your motorcycle or anything like that. The 50-meter limit is really bad for some people, but I'd rather prefer to have some active track limits if it means that I can fly a drone like this in the A1 airspace. Now, looking at the feature of this drone, so we have the same features that we have seen in the previous DJI models with the active track, quick shots, and master shots, where the master shots can be used to simplify both the shooting and editing process by taking multiple different shots in one sequence. In addition to the master shots, the quick shots offers a variety of different shooting modes like time-lapse, hyperlapse, and panoramic shooting modes. But we also have some new features which was added to the Mavic 3 Classic: cruise control and night shooting. The newly added cruise control gives you the option to set a consistent flight speed so you can focus on getting the shot. This is really handy for anyone struggling to keep a consistent speed using the stick, and it also helps eliminate minor shakes. So to use the cruise control function, you first need to bind any of the two custom buttons on your controller, and you can do this by going through the button customization tab within the settings. Now, once you're in the air going forward, sideways, or backwards at a speed you feel like keeping, you press the button to activate cruise control, and the drone will maintain that exact same speed. Now, this also makes it easier to get smoother tilt shots as you have one less thing to focus on. Now, the next addition we have on the Mavic 3 Classic is night shooting. So if you're out there shooting in really low light conditions, all you do is just flip it over to a night mode. What this does is allow you to have a higher ISO all the way up to 12,800 ISO. Now, the only limitation to night shooting at this point is that you can only shoot 4K 30, so you're not able to shoot 5.1K in night mode. As for the image processing, it does have a little bit of noise reduction to it. This is to make your night shot look smoother, which can also help you and make your life a little bit easier in post. Now, let's move over to the safety features of this drone. The Mavic 3 Classic has a pretty complex safety system. It has 8 sensors, and these 8 sensors are there to make you, as a user, have a safer flight, despite being new or experienced drone pilot. The APAS 5.0 system can avoid obstacles and automatically plan different routes around, above, or below them. And thanks to its 8 visual sensors which can detect obstacles coming from all directions. The avoidance system is scanning the surroundings from up to 200 meters away, and the advanced return to home system can determine the best route back to its launch point. There's also an AirSense ADS-B receiver built into the Mavic 3 Classic, which helps to alert the drone pilot to nearby aircrafts that are transmitting ADS-B signals long before the pilot can see or hear the aircraft. And with an additional layer of safety for flight operations, DJI Geo 2.0 geofencing system informs drone pilots about local airspace restrictions and potential flight hazards. So DJI really has a safe system. Now let's talk about prices. The price of the Mavic 3 Classic is divided into 3 different configurations. First is the Mavic 3 Standalone. This does not include a remote controller or a charger, and is the best option if you already have other DJI drones. It's compatible with any existing DJI RC N1 controller, the DJI RC, and also the DJI RC Pro, and this comes in at $1,469. The second option is the Mavic 3 Classic with the DJI RC-N1 controller, and this comes in at $15.99. Now, the last option is the Mavic 3 Classic with the DJI RC controller. This comes in at $17.49, so it's a little bit more expensive, but it's the best option if you want a solid controller with a built-in screen which gets you going in seconds. And the controller is 700 nits. It's super bright and super easy to use in bright conditions. It's by far the best controller I've had ever. Now, as an addition, there's also the Fly More kit, which I don't have here. It's not available here in Norway at this point. Hopefully I can get my hands on it soon, but this includes 2 extra batteries, a 100-watt charging hub, and a 65-watt car charger, extra propellers, and the DJI carrying bag. This is sold separately and retails for $649. Now, this is the first time that I've actually been able to fly such a premium drone from DJI, and I was holding back on the Mavic 3 Standard and the Cine Premium version because they were just too expensive. Now, I bought the Mavic 3 Classic myself, and I think it's a really good addition to the Mini 3 Pro, and now with the C1 label, it's just as easy to fly the Mavic 3 Classic as it is to fly the Mini 3 Pro. So, if you found any value in this video, and if I could help you in any way to better understand how the Mavic 3 Classic works, then consider subscribing to the channel. And if you enjoyed today's video, consider giving it a like for the algorithm. That would be really, really appreciated. So until next time, take care, and I will see you soon.